AI or Die Weekly Pulse, your week in AI every Friday. Today is Saturday, June the 20th, a special occasion. It is Luai birthday today, a real AI hero. Lights out and away we go. Box, everyone's talking about export controls this week. My AI got so powerful the government switched it off mid-sentence. Now it is just staring at me through the haze, engine warm, waiting for clearance. The pit wall keeps yelling box, but there's nowhere left to box. We start on the grid with the team that just bought the whole paddock. 4 days after its record-breaking debut on the stock market, SpaceX confirmed it's buying the coding startup Cursor for $60 billion, the largest venture-backed acquisition the industry has ever seen. And here's the twist that makes it matter. The very same SpaceX rents out the computing power the big AI labs run on, Anthropic and Google, so in one move, it became both their landlord and their rival. On the same track. Then the stewards came for OpenAI. A bipartisan coalition of 42 state attorneys general served the company a subpoena, a sweeping demand for documents. The questions on the table: how it advertises, how it handles children's and health data. Florida had already gone further weeks earlier, suing both the company and Sam Altman by name, and all of it lands while OpenAI's confidential paperwork to go public sits filed and waiting. The company says it will engage constructively. When you're the front runner, every steward in the country wants a look under your bonnet. Now hold that image, a model so capable it had just been handed to the world, and then, overnight, switched off, days after Anthropic put Fable and the more powerful Mythos into millions of hands. A government directive arrived, block every foreign national from using them, even Anthropic's own engineers abroad. There was only one way to obey: pull the plug on both, everywhere at once. Anthropic says it's a misunderstanding, that the feared jailbreak doesn't exist, that it had the green light to launch. Which brings us to your term of the week. Open weights. Think of two race teams. One keeps its engine sealed in a locked box. You can drive the car but never look inside. The other hands you the full blueprints and says, build your own. That second team is the open weight model. It's the difference between renting the engine and owning it. And this week, with the most powerful sealed engine switched off, owning yours suddenly looks a lot more appealing. Now to the grid, where the models actually qualified this week across 6 arenas. There are several benchmarks here, so feel free to pause and look through each at your own pace. Quick note on the running order: Claude's Fable and Mythos still top several boards from earlier in the week, but as of Friday they're both offline under the export order, so treat their positions as grids as qualified, not who's actually on track today. The one to watch this week is humanity's last exam, HLE. Think of it as the championship's hardest circuit. Thousands of expert-level questions, deliberately Google-proof, written so you can't just look up the answer. It's so brutal that even the best models still only answer around half of it, which is exactly why a high score here is the truest test of frontier reasoning on the grid. And for image and video, China's labs lead the pack. The line that defined the week came not from Silicon Valley, but Beijing. As his open model launched into the gap left by the shutdown, ZAI founder Jai Tang wrote simply, "The sudden restriction of certain frontier models is deeply regrettable." Diplomacy wrapped around a release that said the quiet part out loud: lock your fastest cars in the garage and someone else gives theirs away for free. Something you can get your hands on this week, that same GLM-52. Because it's open and built for code, it drops straight into the coding agents many of us already use, Claude Code, Klein and others, by pointing them at a different endpoint. A 1 million token window holds a whole codebase at once, and the entry plan runs about $18 a month. A cheap, open place to let an agent loose on a real repo. Quick hits 9 this week, China's open weights. Moonshot's Kimi K2.7 code and ZAI GLM 5.2. And a new sovereign entrant, Turkey's National Research Council, TÜBİTAK, unveiled Bilge, a homegrown Turkish large language model in a live demo led by the country's industry and technology minister. It's trained to understand Turkish language and culture first, framed as a strategic national model rather than a global one, and it isn't open to the public yet. Google joined with Diffusion Gemma, a faster diffusion text model. On June 15th, Anthropic retired the original Claude Sonnet 4 and Opus 4 from its API, so check your settings. In the cloud, the OpenAI and Microsoft exclusivity ended and Alphabet landed an $85 billion deal. Visa is wiring payments into ChatGPT. OpenAI is buying Astral, makers of the UV and rough Python tools, folding them into Codex. Google launched its first smart speaker in 6 years, Gemini built in. And the one to watch, that Anthropic ban now traces to a Korean carrier flagged over alleged China ties, which the company denies, with Anthropic saying its models could be back within days. Every race has a steward's room. This week it was in Washington. Days after Anthropic's most powerful models reached the public, the United States government ordered them off the track. Friday afternoon, the directive landed: block all foreign nationals, including the company's own staff overseas. The only way to comply was to shut Fable and Mythos down worldwide. The spark, as reported, was a phone call. Amazon's chief executive warning the Treasury Secretary the models could be jailbroken. The method feared asked the model to read a codebase and quietly fix its flaws. Anthropic pushed back hard. No universal jailbreak exists, and it had approval to launch. It flew senior people to the Capitol to argue in person. Both sides want the cars back on track, but tonight the flagship sits silent at a delicate moment. Its confidential paperwork to go public is already filed. The money, and it's staggering. Even as governments tighten their grip, the Capitol didn't blink. SpaceX, freshly public, has rocketed past $2 trillion. OpenAI's confidential filing is reported near $1 trillion. Databricks, riding the wave from its summit this week, is raising at around $175 billion. And Anthropic, flagship's dark engineers in Washington, is still valued approaching $1 trillion. Closer to home, who actually runs AI inside the UAE government? Picture a racing team with 4 jobs. Strategy, who sets direction. The brand new Artificial Intelligence and Data Authority, created this week, reporting to the cabinet and chaired by Omar Sultan Al-Alama, the world's first AI minister. Planning, who turns direction into a plan. The Ministry of Cabinet Affairs under Mohammed Al-Jergawi, whose agentic AI committee runs 90-day delivery tracks. Governance, who writes the rules. Also the new authority, now owning data and AI standards, folding in the old data office and digital government sector. Execution, who does it. 50 federal entities and 300 officials, with chief AI officers embedded entity by entity, converting half of government to agentic AI within 2 years. Behind it all, the engine, Abu Dhabi's Advanced Technology Council, Wiring and G42, Mobadala, MGX, and the AI University. Strategy, planning, governance, execution. One country, one stack. Now the road ahead. With the Databricks summit just wrapped, the lights are green on what's next. Late June brings the car everyone's waiting on, Google's Gemini 3.5 Pro with a 2 million token context window and a deep think reasoning mode. Then on the 26th and 27th, China's cloud giants gather in Shenzhen for Flink Forward Asia, Alibaba Cloud's real-time data and AI-agent summit, with more than 70 speakers from QN, ByteDance, and Tencent. And watch the leaderboards. With Anthropic's fastest cars still in the garage, the order could be rewritten overnight. And what it means for us at Devices and Future Growth Ventures. 3 moves. 1. The priority. The UAE just stood up a federal AI and data authority and committed half its government to agentic AI. That's our home market rewiring around exactly what we build. 2. Supplier risk is real. When a government can switch off a frontier model overnight, an open-weight option like GLM-52 isn't a curiosity, it's a hedge. 3. The device is still the front door. Whoever owns the assistant on the phone owns the relationship. The lesson of the week: don't bet the race on a single engine. And that's the checkered flag. This week was a story about who gets to drive. Our winner, the UAE, which while everyone else argued over the rules, quietly built the authority to run a government on AI. Our hardest night, Anthropic, the fastest car on the grid, black flagged days after the start. And one human note: this same week, after nearly 2 years without a win, Lewis Hamilton finally stood on the top step in Barcelona. The comeback is always part of the race. Out there it really is, AI or die. Go build something with it. Stay curious, stay sharp. We'll be right here next Friday.